Hello, welcome to another Ultimate Game Host video. Today we're going to talk about the virtual private servers, which we will hereafter refer to as VPS for short, and how you can use these options. Key features of the VPS include dedicated CPU, RAM, network, and SSD disk resources for your VPS. We also provide Munin for monitoring so that you can observe usage of those resources. You can deploy multiple servers and game types via the control panel with ease. Now we'll talk about some of the options that are available. We currently offer 3 options for VPS. Option 1 is 1 GB of RAM, 1 CPU core, 24 GB of SSD disk space, 2 TB monthly network transfer, and 125 megabit network out. Option 2 is double that except for the transfer, which only goes up by 1 TB. And option 3 is double still of option 2. So the resources and the power effectively double at each interval except for the transfer. What this means is option 1 is enough to run 1 large game server or 3 small game servers. Option 2 will run a few large game servers or 6 small game servers. And option 3 will run some large game servers or 12 small game servers. And again, this depends on how busy the server is. So if you've got one server with tons of custom maps, you may end up using up most of the disk space and you may not get to the 12 server count. But it's about how you want to divide your resources. So you buy the option you want and divide the resources up as you choose to get to the number of game servers desired. And depending how many servers and how many slots you want, it may be more economical to purchase the VPS option instead. It also allows you greater flexibility later with what games you have. With that said, let's take a look at the control panel for working with VPS. This is the control panel for a VPS. This is a level 1 VPS, so the 3 game servers is the maximum. And we'll just take a look at this and go over it so you can see your server IP for your virtual private server, your max number of game servers, the Munin overview page where you can look at lots of different charts and graphs. We'll look at that briefly now. So we can see here, if we click on a different category, if we say network, for instance, you can see how much traffic, whether or not there have been any errors on the interfaces, that sort of thing. And for lots of folks, this may be more information than they'd like, but it can be useful to see what sort of things are using your system resources and how the CPU usage is being divided up, that sort of thing. Can help you identify any issues or performance problems you might be having. And there is a lot of information available in here for those who want to look under the hood and see what's going on. For convenience, we've put the most common ones right within the control panel. So you can look at your server's CPU usage on the CPU tab. And then you can also click on the link and that takes you directly to the CPU resource tabs as well as how the resources are spent. You can do the same thing for memory. So you can see the memory usage on the virtual host. And again, you can go to the more detailed graphs as well. The same is available for disk usage, disk input-output rates, the network activity, and then we also have an admin page where you can change your control panel password for this particular account. Now, this account we're looking at right now is the VPS account. So this is the one that's received when you first get your email about the VPS server. So you'll log into the same control panel that you would for a game server, but your password takes you into this, which is the VPS interface for your particular account. Now we'll look at adding a server to the account. Now we're going to set up our first game server on the account. We're going to do a Gary's Mod server to start. So I'm simply going to click on Add Server in the control panel. And you can choose the various game types. These are all the games that we currently offer within the VPS solution. So let's pick Gary's Mod. I'm going to go with a small slot count for the demo. Let's say an 8 slot. I'm just going to call this a test Gary's Mod server. I should note, as I'm doing this, that, as we say here, the system eliminates special characters from the server name at this step, and you can put them back in the host name later within that individual game account. But in this case, it'll get stripped out. So if you had, $, whatever in here, it would get stripped out. And we'll just add an Archon password. And for this server, we can make it the default port number, 27015 for this game. We'll put the other ones on a different one. Let's hit create. Now, when I click this button, I'm going to start a timer, and I'll cut the film, and I'll let you know how long it took for this server to be set up. So after I hit create, it'll jump fairly quickly to the refreshed control panel page where we see the server in there, and you'll know exactly how long it took for this to provision on the VPS. So here we go. All right. So once I receive that email that says the server's ready, I will stop the clock and be right back with you. All right, so that Gary's Mod server is now all done setting up. I refresh the page and we can see the test Gary's Mod server is in here. I clocked the total install time at 5 minutes and 8 seconds. This is because we have to transfer the files for Gary's Mod over to the server. That way we're not using up disk space by keeping all the games cached on one box. So as you can see, if we look at the graphs and go to the more recent data by doing click here, you can see the spike between about 10% disk usage up to around 23% disk usage. So you can see that spike in activity. And a similar thing in the network. When we look here, you can see the traffic going all the way down to the 100 of bits in, so downloading at 100 megabits per second internally to get that data set up. So 5 minutes, our Gary's Mod server is up, ready to go, and in the control panel. Now, in that email that I received about the Gary's Mod server, it's just like if you bought any other Gary's Mod server from us without doing the VPS options. It's the same thing. There's a control panel username and password that's unique to that game server, as well as FTP account access, that sort of thing. But if you don't want to use those unique emails, you could. If you had, say you're setting up these for a clan and you wanted to do 3 game servers, you could give 2 of your admins, one password and a different one. Instead of giving them the VPS access, you can give them just the individual game servers. But you can still go into the VPS control panel and click on the manage link next to the server, and it automatically pops up the other control panel page for this game server. So now on this page, we're looking at that game server. So if we're looking at the VPS, we hit manage on this one, and now we're in the manage for it. And you have all the typical control panel options that are all set up to deal with that account. And I'll put a link in the description to the video that talks about this entire control panel options, but I will mention one new feature, which is the daily restart. So a lot of these game servers, particularly when they get heavily loaded with add-ons, it's not a bad idea to keep things fresh and restart them. So you can set up a daily server restart so that when there's no players on the server between these 2 times, it will automatically reboot the server so that next time you hit it that day, you've got a fresh reboot going, and helps avoid problems, particularly when you get lots of plugins and add-ons going on. So now let's add another server. We'll just clock this one too to see how long it takes. So I'm going to do add a server, and this time I'm going to pick a Team Fortress 2 server. I can leave it at 16. I'll name this Test Team Fortress 2, just for consistency's sake. And for the port on this one, I'm going to choose, I'll just say 12,000. As it says here, you can choose a number between 10,000 and 28,000 for port number, and you can pick 27015 if you desire, which is the default game port. Since we already gave that to Gary's Mod, once again, I'm going to start the timer the moment I hit create, and I will cut the film and come back to you when it's done. So that is now going. I'm going to click OK on this, and we can see now that the server's provisioning. I'm going to go away and come right back when that step's complete. Okay, we're back. I got the server's ready email. It's about 5 minutes and 34 seconds, roughly, for the install. Team Fortress 2 is one of the heftier games out there. And I didn't hit refresh on the control panel yet, so you can see what happened. The game name, the server IP and port that I chose, the number of players, and the provisioning please wait is there. I'm going to click refresh in the control panel, and now it's showing the number of players on and the number of slots, and then again a manage button, which I'll click. And after a couple seconds, this will take me over to the control panel page for that new Team Fortress 2 server that's up and running on 2Fort. And again, all the control panel options are there. The link will be in the description for the video going over this control panel and how to use it. But today we're focusing on the VPS control panel. So I'm going to close this out again. And again, this is a separate account. So you'll notice the account name for the VPS is this, the 88 number up here. And then for the game server, there's this 03 number. So it's separate accounts. So if you've got an admin that should be managing your TF2 side of the stuff you're doing for your gaming group, then you give them these credentials instead of the VPS credentials, and they can manage just that game server, soup to nuts, everything you want. This is really geared toward communities that need to have a bunch of smaller servers or a few big servers and want to split up the admin work among their members. So I'm going to close that TF2 tab I had open, and we'll take a look at adding another game here. So let's set up a Counter-Strike source server. And again, we'll time it and cut the film again. I'll just make this one make it a 12 slot. And we'll set up the ports for this one. We'll say 13,000. I'm going to reset my timer here, and we'll create this one. This one should be a little quicker than the other two. Let's go ahead and clock them in. That one is provisioning, and I'll cut the film and be right back with you when it's done. All right, so I just got the email that the Counter-Strike server was ready. That took about 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Being a lighter weight game and less disk, I can understand that. I'm going to refresh the control panel page here in the VPS, so we've got that. We'll click on Manage and take a look at the Counter-Strike source server control panel for that server. And there it is. And I will close that back out. And we can actually see somebody, unbeknownst to me, has joined the Gary's Mod server and then left quickly. So I will do my own joining test a little bit later in the video. And just like any other game server that you'd purchase from us individually outside the VPS, you receive the same email communication that you have a new server set up when you create them inside the VPS. Now you may be wondering, can I delete these? Can I change these? That feature isn't available now. It may be available at a future time. For now, if you want to remove one of these servers or change the game type, you would have to go through contacting support at ultimategamehost in order to get that done. So next we'll look at the games in HLSW. So I'm going to copy one of these, get it typed in there. There we go. So there's the test Gary's Mod server. I should note that Gary's Mod for this VPS option is the Linux-based Gary's Mod. Something to keep in mind. Now let's go back to the list here. I'll copy this one in as well. And there's our TF2 server on that account. We'll grab that last one, the Counter-Strike source. So it's a pretty quick way to have multiple different games all set up for your particular clan or game community, etc., especially when you go to the bigger VPS option. All right, so now I've joined the Team Fortress 2 server so that we can see that in the control panel. So now we've got myself joined to the Team Fortress 2 server, 1 out of 16. And that pretty much wraps it up for the VPS video. We'll leave a link in the description for the video that talks about the control panel when you go to the manage link next to each of the servers on the VPS. But for some of those communities out there, this may be a great option if you need more than one server, or if you just want to have completely separate resources for one large server. The VPS option may very well be the best option for you. We encourage you to check it out, ask us questions, write into sales if you have questions. And if you're looking for, forgot to mention before, if you're looking for something other than the options we have listed here, we do entertain other options, just nothing smaller than option one. So if you want to talk about a bigger option, you can email sales@ultimategamehost.com to talk about that. But we don't go lower than option one currently for the available resources. Thank you for watching, and please let us know if you have any questions.